What if I told you that everything you've been taught about the Bible is only part of the story? What if the sacred text you've always relied on hides a deeper truth, one so ancient, so buried, that it has remained hidden in plain sight for millennia? These gods, these so-called false idols the Bible warns against, might not just be figments of imagination. In fact, they could have been real deities, once powerful beings who walked the earth long before the Israelites ever set foot in Canaan. Welcome to Biblical Journey, the place where we uncover the secrets that have been carefully kept from the world. We're about to take you on a journey through time, through layers of ancient history, to uncover the truth behind the Anunnaki, the gods of old whose footprints are scattered not just across ancient texts, but also within the very scriptures of the Bible. You'll be amazed at the connections we'll uncover. Before we dive deep into these ancient mysteries, let me ask you, what if the Anunnaki weren't just myths? What if they were real gods, rulers who shaped the fate of ancient civilizations, and whose legacies have been systematically erased from our modern understanding? Today we'll pull back the curtain on these gods, and trust me, what we reveal will change everything you thought you knew about the Bible and its true origins. The Anunnaki were not just gods, they were the divine rulers of the ancient world, the supreme deities that governed the great cities of Mesopotamia. These gods weren't limited to mere myth. They had influence, control, and power that shaped the course of human history. The Anunnaki were the gods of Sumer, the first civilization in recorded history. They ruled over cities like Eridu, Babylon, and Akkad, each city under the control of a specific god. Enki, the god of wisdom, ruled Eridu. Marduk, the god of war and creation, ruled Babylon. Inanna, the goddess of love and war, was the ruler of Uruk. But here's where things get interesting. These gods weren't just figures of myth. They were seen as real beings, with human-like attributes, living in the world among the people. And what's even more shocking is the idea that these gods were not just mythological. What if their presence and power were felt across the earth? What if their interactions with humanity, their divine knowledge, were not just stories to be dismissed, but ancient truths veiled under layers of time and translation? The ancient Sumerians believed that their civilization was built by these gods. Their temples were not just places of worship, but also centers of knowledge, power, and control. These gods, with their extraordinary abilities, shaped the destiny of humanity. But as time went on, their presence began to fade. The question is, why? And where did they go? As we dive deeper into the stories of the Bible, we can see strange echoes of the Anunnaki and their influence. The Bible speaks of false gods, idols, and deities, but what if these weren't just false, but were once real gods? Let's take a look at some of the gods mentioned in the Bible, gods like Marduk, who in the Bible is referred to as Bel. Isaiah mocks him by saying, "Bel boweth down, Nebo stoopeth." This isn't just a story about a false idol. It's a story of a god who was once worshipped, a god who had a presence in the ancient world that was undeniable. Ishtar, another Anunnaki goddess, is mentioned in the Bible as Ashtoreth. She was the goddess of love and war, revered in Babylon and condemned in the Bible. The Bible says that Solomon followed after Ashtoreth, indicating a deep connection between the Israelites and the gods of Mesopotamia. In fact, many of the gods from the Anunnaki pantheon show up in the Bible, although their names and their roles are often distorted or downplayed. Could the Bible have hidden the truth about these gods to create a narrative of one supreme God, leaving the Anunnaki gods as false and evil in comparison? But the truth is more complicated. The Israelites lived under the influence of Mesopotamia for centuries, from their exile in Babylon to their wars with Assyria. During this time, they were exposed to the culture, gods, and knowledge of these ancient civilizations. And while the Bible may condemn these gods, it still records their influence, their role in the ancient world, and their place in the stories of the Bible. Could these gods have been real beings whose stories were co-opted and reshaped over time? Were they the rulers of the ancient world who are now hidden in plain sight in the scriptures? The connection is too strong to ignore. The Bible's portrayal of these gods is not just myth, it's a reflection of a much older history, one that predates the rise of Israel and the establishment of Yahweh as the one true God. Enlil, one of the most powerful of the Anunnaki, is another key figure who links the gods of ancient Mesopotamia to the Bible. Enlil was the god of storms, law, and divine wrath. In the Bible, we see Yahweh, the God of Israel, exhibiting traits that seem eerily similar to Enlil. Both gods are described as beings of immense power, capable of unleashing storms, floods, and wrath upon humanity. In the Sumerian version of the flood story, Enlil seeks to destroy humanity because he believes humans have become too numerous and too powerful. Only Enki, another Anunnaki god, intervenes to save humanity by instructing a man to build an ark. This story parallels the biblical flood narrative in which Yahweh decides to flood the earth to wipe out humanity, but saves Noah and his family. The similarities between these two accounts are striking, leading some to wonder, was the flood story in the Bible inspired by the much older Sumerian version, with Enlil replacing Yahweh in the biblical narrative? In the Bible, we also encounter the story of the Tower of Babel. In Genesis, Yahweh scatters humanity and confuses their languages, preventing them from building a tower that could reach the heavens. This story echoes the Sumerian tale of Enlil, who destroyed the ancient ziggurat of Babel, scattering the people and dividing their language. The biblical story and the Sumerian myth align in their depiction of a god who seeks to limit human potential and prevent humanity from rising to power. Why would the Bible reshape these ancient stories? Could it be that these older myths, once part of a larger divine narrative, were absorbed into the Bible to create a more unified, monotheistic story? The parallels between the two versions of the flood and the Tower of Babel suggest that the Bible's depiction of Yahweh as a wrathful God may actually be a reimagining of the ancient Enlil, the god who sought to keep humanity in check. One of the most intriguing connections between the Anunnaki and the Bible lies in the story of the Nephilim, the giants who were born of the sons of God and the daughters of men. In Genesis 6:4 it says, "There were giants in the earth in those days." And also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown. Who were the sons of God? According to many ancient texts, these were the Watchers, beings sent by the gods to watch over humanity. In the Sumerian tradition, the Anunnaki themselves are often referred to as divine beings, who took human wives and fathered hybrid children. These offspring, the Nephilim, were said to be giants, possessing strength and power far beyond ordinary humans. In the Bible, the Nephilim are often depicted as a race of giants who brought chaos and destruction to the earth. But could these giants have been more than just myth? Could they have been the descendants of the Anunnaki, the powerful beings who once walked among us? The Bible's mention of giants in Canaan, like the sons of Anak, and the destruction of these giants by the Israelites suggests a deeper, hidden truth, one that traces back to the ancient gods who once ruled the earth. This story, often seen as allegory, may have a much deeper connection to the ancient gods. The Nephilim were not just ancient legends, they were the progeny of the Anunnaki, beings who crossed the line between the divine and the human, creating a race of giants whose influence was felt for generations. The story of the Nephilim doesn't end there. The Bible also speaks of the Rephaim, another race of giants. These giants are most famously mentioned in the book of Deuteronomy, where the Israelites are commanded to destroy the Rephaim in the land of Canaan. One of the most famous Rephaim was Og, the king of Bashan, whose bed was said to be made of iron and measured over 13 feet long. The sheer size of his bed alone suggests that Og was no ordinary human being. He was a giant, a remnant of the ancient world, a product of the Anunnaki's intervention in human affairs. The land of Bashan, in the region east of the Jordan River, was home to some of the most ancient and mysterious megalithic structures. One such structure is the Gilgal Rephaim, a massive stone circle that dates back thousands of years. Could this be the site of the ancient giants, the Rephaim, where their tombs or fortresses lay buried? Archaeologists have uncovered remnants of these massive stones, which seem to defy the capabilities of ordinary human civilizations at the time. The Bible mentions the Rephaim as a powerful and fearsome race. When the Israelites first scouted the land of Canaan, they reported seeing these giants, saying, "We were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight." The fear that these giants instilled in the hearts of the Israelites was not just the fear of physical strength, but also the fear of something ancient and powerful, a race of beings whose existence predated even the flood. But why were the Rephaim so important in the Bible? Why did the Israelites, time and time again, encounter these giants? The answer lies in their connection to the Anunnaki. The Rephaim were likely not just giants. They were the descendants of the Anunnaki themselves, the last vestiges of a divine race that once ruled the earth. And as the Israelites moved into the land of Canaan, the battle to destroy these giants was more than just a conquest of land. It was a battle to erase the memory of the ancient gods and their offspring. The battle between Yahweh and the Anunnaki is not just a spiritual conflict, it's a war for control of the earth. Throughout the Bible, we see Yahweh repeatedly waging war against the gods of the ancient world. From the overthrow of Baal, the storm god of the Canaanites, to the destruction of Marduk's power in Babylon, Yahweh is depicted as the God who seeks to eliminate all rivals. But could this battle have been more than just theological? Could it have been a struggle between different factions of gods, each with their own agenda for humanity? The Anunnaki, with their powerful rulers and divine control over cities, were not just passive gods. They were involved in the governance of the world, overseeing the development of humanity and shaping its destiny. Yahweh's rise to supremacy wasn't just about religion. It was about establishing control over the earth, wiping out competing divine powers and solidifying his place as the one true God. This divine war is most evident in the story of the golden calf in Exodus. When Moses ascended Mount Sinai to receive the commandments from Yahweh, the Israelites grew restless and turned to worship a golden calf. But this wasn't just a simple act of idolatry. It was a sign that the people still remembered the gods of old, the Anunnaki. The golden calf was not a random idol. It was a symbol of divine kingship, power, and creation, attributes that were closely associated with the Anunnaki gods, like Enlil and Marduk. Moses' anger at the golden calf wasn't just a response to idol worship. It was a response to the people's attempt to reconnect with the ancient gods. By destroying the calf and punishing the people, Moses wasn't just reaffirming Yahweh's supremacy, he was actively erasing the last remnants of the Anunnaki's influence. This divine battle between Yahweh and the ancient gods plays out in numerous other biblical stories, from the destruction of the Philistine god Dagon's temple to the eventual fall of Babylon, a kingdom once ruled by the Anunnaki deity Marduk. Throughout the Bible, we see hints of a divine council, a group of gods who preside over human affairs. Psalm 82:1 states, "God stands in the congregation of the mighty, he judges among the gods." This verse acknowledges the existence of other gods, beings who once had power and authority over the earth. But over time, Yahweh, the God of Israel, becomes more dominant, and these other gods are either cast aside as demons or absorbed into the character of Yahweh himself. Could this divine council have been a reflection of the Anunnaki's rule over humanity? In Mesopotamian mythology, the Anunnaki were not just a group of gods. They were a divine council, each with their own specific domain, overseeing different regions of the earth. The Sumerians believed that the Anunnaki governed human civilization, guiding its growth and shaping its destiny. These gods were deeply involved in the affairs of humanity, and their influence was felt in every aspect of life. In the Bible, the existence of other gods is often minimized or condemned. But could this be a reflection of the ancient conflict between Yahweh and the Anunnaki? As Yahweh established his dominance, he sought to eliminate the worship of other gods, rewriting history to make himself the sole divine authority. The references to other gods in the Bible could be traces of a time when the Anunnaki were still present, when the divine council was a reality, and when other gods held sway over the world. As time went on, the Anunnaki's influence over the earth began to fade. The great cities of Mesopotamia, Babylon, and Akkad fell into ruin, and the temples that once housed these gods were abandoned. The Anunnaki, once the rulers of the earth, seemed to vanish. But where did they go? Did they truly leave, or did they simply retreat from human affairs, waiting for a time when they would return? Some scholars argue that the Anunnaki's withdrawal was not voluntary. Perhaps they were overthrown, defeated by the growing power of Yahweh, or perhaps they simply lost their ability to influence human affairs. As the ancient world gave way to new civilizations, the memory of the Anunnaki began to fade. But the legacy of these gods remains. Their influence is still felt in the myths, the stories, and the cultures that followed. In many ways, the Anunnaki's departure marks the beginning of a new era. The Bible, with its single supreme God, became the foundation for the monotheistic religions that dominate the world today. But the ancient gods were not forgotten. They live on in the stories we tell, the cities we build, and the cultures we inherit. The question remains, will the Anunnaki return? Could they be watching, waiting for the right moment to reclaim their place as rulers of the earth? The truth, it seems, is still out there, hidden in the ancient texts and waiting to be uncovered. The final chapter of this ancient conflict between Yahweh and the Anunnaki is one of dominance, power, and rewriting history. As Yahweh ascends to power, the Anunnaki are relegated to the status of false gods, demons, and idols. But could it be that this battle was more than just a struggle for religious supremacy? Could it have been a cosmic war for control over the earth, for the future of humanity itself? In the Bible, Yahweh's rise to power is marked by a series of wars against the other gods of the ancient world. From the destruction of Baal to the downfall of Marduk, Yahweh is portrayed as the supreme God who will stop at nothing to eliminate all rivals. But this battle was not just about faith. It was about control over human civilization. Yahweh sought to erase the influence of the Anunnaki, to replace their rule with his own, and to establish a new order for humanity. But as we look back on these ancient stories, one thing becomes clear. The legacy of the Anunnaki is far from gone. Their influence, their power, and their divine knowledge continue to shape our world, even if we no longer recognize their names. Could the Anunnaki be waiting for the right moment to return, to reclaim the earth they once ruled? Only time will tell. As we reach the end of this journey into the ancient world, one thing is clear. The Anunnaki, these powerful deities of the past, have left a legacy that is still alive today. From their influence on early civilizations to their presence in the Bible, the evidence of their existence is woven into the fabric of history. The mystery of their role in shaping humanity remains one of the greatest secrets, and perhaps one we're only beginning to truly understand. But the question remains, Will we ever fully uncover the truth about the Anunnaki? Will we discover more of their hidden influence in our world today? The answer, perhaps, lies in continuing to question, explore, and uncover the secrets of the past. And as we do, the story of the Anunnaki might be just one chapter in the deeper mysteries that still surround us. If you found this journey fascinating, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future explorations of ancient history and hidden truths. Join us on Biblical Journey as we uncover even more secrets of the past, secrets that could reshape our understanding of the world. Leave a comment below. What do you think? Were the Anunnaki real gods, or is their story just myth? Share your thoughts, and let's keep the conversation going. We look forward to having you with us for the next chapter of the journey.